So underneath the truck, locate your transmission pan, locate your drain plug, which is right here. The drain plug will require a 3/4 inch socket. And then you want to remove all these bolts that surround the transmission pan. Give the transmission pan a visual inspection and be sure to clean these magnets. I've got the old gasket removed, the new gasket installed, and the pan is cleaned out. I have a few of these bolts sitting in here just to hold the gasket in place. So now with the transmission pan removed, you can access the transmission filter, and it is fastened by all these bolts that surround it. So we're going to get those removed and replace the filter. So here's the filter that I took off, and keep in mind this transmission and filter has 53,000 miles on it. It's just shy of the 60,000 mile mark. So before I removed this transmission filter, I noticed that there were 3 different sized bolts. So what I did here was I put an L for long, so these 2 bolts were really long, the longest of all of them. And then these 3 right here, these were attached with a nut. And the rest, there was a series of small and longer ones. And the easiest way to tell for that is when this is up on the transmission and you can look in the hole and you see the threads, then you know that's going to be the short bolt. If you can't see any of the threads, then you know it's the long bolt. And I'll explain that later once we get underneath the truck. So if you notice right here, you can't see the threads in those holes. So that tells me that these are the long bolts. But in this one, you can see the threads. So I know that this is a short bolt. So these were the 3 different size bolts I had holding that filter in. I had these 2 small ones, a bunch of medium-sized ones, and these 2 long ones. And then there were 3 nuts. I have 2 here because I already have 1 on there, but I had 3 nuts that held it on. So once you get your filter back together and your pan back on, remove the dipstick and add a funnel to add the fluid. Once your vehicle is warmed up, you want to check your fluid while it's running and parked on a level surface. So I just came back from a 10-minute test drive. I got the engine nice and warm, I got the transmission nice and warm, and I just checked it. And it's kind of hard to make out on this camera, but it's right in the middle of those cross hatches, which is exactly where you want it. And again, this truck is warmed up, it's running, it's on level ground, and it took just over 5 quarts to get it right where it needs to be. So thanks for watching, everybody.